essential before you start learning Japanese. Yeah. So today I'm talking about the letter shapes. I've got many questions from my previous students, the current students as well. They found, oh, there are so many letters, especially when they started learning hiragana. They found, oh, these hiragana letters should be the same but looks very different. Why? So that's the very common questions I've got from the beginner, absolute beginner level students. So that's what I'm talking about today. So let me share the screen. Konnichiwa. If you can hear me, please push the like button and then it encourages me or not. Yeah, so this is hiragana letter sa. Okay, sa. Okay. If you start learning hiragana, maybe you can recognize. But these three letters look very different, aren't they? So that's the you can see each letter. These two look a bit similar, and then this one very different. All right. So lots of my students found these two letters, and then ask Sensei, how can I read these letters? They should be the same, hiragana sa, but looks very different, are they? Yeah. They are very different. The difference is the font. Okay, as you can see, this letter is Gothic font. Okay, and this letter is written in Mincho font, and this letter is in Kyokasho font, right? And then you may think, okay, so one hiragana letter sa, is written differently. Well, it is half true. Yes, these are very different, but the function of these fonts are different. So let me show you the next one. I think it's one. So normally in our daily life, I mean the Japanese people's daily life, you can see these two fonts a lot. Okay, if you read the sorry, it looks a bit weird. Now I can see you well, I hope. Maybe in the Japanese magazine or newspaper or website, you can find these Gothic and Mincho fonts a lot. Why? Because they are the fonts for reading. Yeah, so these fonts look nice, and then these fonts are created for reading purposes. So maybe you can think, oh, then I just learn Gothic and Mincho font. No. Why? Because this Kyokasho font is the base of our writing. What I mean, so all the Japanese people, all Japanese kids learn the correct shape of each letter using this font. So Kyokasho, the name Kyokasho means textbook, especially national textbook. So this is one of the Japanese language textbook for Japanese children. This is actually the first Japanese language textbook for Japanese children. There are several kinds of the publishers publish the national Japanese language textbook for the elementary school, primary school students. This is one of the most popular publisher. And then all the letters, all the hiragana letters or katakana letters, kanji letters, written, the printed in this national standard textbook used in all the Japanese schools are written in kyokasho font. Okay, so this is the font for Japanese kids learn the correct shape of every letters and characters. So you can see this textbook has a big chart of hiragana chart at the end of the book, because the kids need to learn how to write each letter correctly. Yeah, and then if you think about the history, the tradition we have, the tradition of calligraphy. Yeah, the calligraphy is very important role in Japanese culture. Actually, the Japanese kids learn calligraphy at school. That's compulsory. So we believe this is very important for all kids, all Japanese kids, to understand, to visualize the correct shape of each letter. So that's why we don't use Gothic or Mincho fonts for kids to learn Japanese letters, Japanese reading, and Japanese writing, especially writing. It's very important. So yeah, so that's the font you need to use when you learn Japanese language. So when the people start, the Japanese learners take Japanese language proficiency test called JLPT. This is very very popular, and maybe the most popular Japanese language test worldwide. This test has the beginner level and then advanced level. The beginner level, N5 is the easiest one, and then N4 is upper beginner level. These tests, these exams are written in kyokasho fonts. Yeah, because we believe all Japanese learners have to understand the correct shape of letters and characters. Okay, and then upper level, intermediate level, and then advanced level, N3, N2, and N1, they use Mincho fonts, because at that level, the learners, we expect learners already acquire the correct shape of each letter and character, so they can practice reading more, yeah, than writing actually. And then for reading, our daily reading materials like magazines or newspapers or websites normally written in Mincho fonts. So that's why these, the upper level learners practice read Mincho fonts. So when you think of this, the hierarchy, the steps to how we use these fonts, the beginner level definitely need to use kyokasho fonts, because that's the fonts you can memorize the correct shape of each hiragana letter, each katakana letter, and then each kanji character. Wow, right? And then once you get used to it, once you understand how the Japanese writing works, and then you can, for example, the N3 level, you can start practice the not the writing practice, but the reading practice using Mincho or Gothic, because that's the more common fonts we use in our daily life. So all the textbook I publish, like this one, or especially this one, it's written in kyokasho fonts, because that's a very, this is the hiragana book I published. This is very important for the Japanese learners to understand the correct shape of hiraganas. Unfortunately, most of the devices we have, they don't have kyokasho fonts, because kyokasho fonts only for the Japanese kids at school, and then Japanese learners who just started learning Japanese up to intermediate level. So that's why maybe if you have the Japanese devices at home, Japanese, you can type in Japanese language using your devices. Maybe your devices doesn't have the kyokasho fonts. Yeah, but please, so I recommend you to use the workbook or the textbook which use kyokasho fonts, and then understand the correct shape of the each hiragana, katakana, and kanji, letters. So that's help you to establish the establish the ideal shape of each letter, and then you can write beautifully. Yeah. So that's the way. So yeah. So if you are interested in it, yeah, this is a book I published. So this is the Hiragana Workbook. So you can get the Hiragana writing practice, of course, kyokasho type, yeah, kyokasho fonts, and then also you can have the, let me see, the how we pronounce each letter sound, because hiragana is the phonic letter, so it represents the correct Japanese pronunciation. Yeah, so that's very important you understand how you pronounce each hiragana letter. So that's why I include the pronunciation tips to learn each hiragana letter. You can get this book through to your local Amazon. You can find the link, maybe here somewhere in this live channel. I hope you enjoy it. Yeah, so that's all for today. Tomorrow I will be a bit late, but I will be on live, and then tomorrow I'm talking about our writing direction. We use vertical writing and then horizontal writing, so I'm talking about these writings. So I hope you enjoy it. See you tomorrow. Sayonara.